I should be asleep right now, but I can't sleep, so instead I'm going to make another video. In this video, I want to talk about perspective, because perspective matters. And I want to talk about perception, because perception is rarely what we think it is, quite ironically. So, why does perception matter? Because each one of us has a perception of what is real. Each one of us has our own reality based on what we believe. As a rule of thumb, society has agreed upon certain perspectives and called it reality. And we all just kind of go along. But it's interesting because when you listen to someone, you may not hear what they say. Instead, you do hear what you think they said. And when you see something, you don't necessarily see what's there, but you do see what you think is there. And if you do some research, I may post some links below the video. I may not. It's getting late tonight. But if you do some research on perception, it's really interesting how your mind and your eye and your vision and your hearing all work together. And what is in front of you, what you see, is not everything that's there. What your brain does is it takes a quick snapshot of certain areas in front of you, and it transforms them into what it perceives is most likely to be there. And the rest of what it didn't take a snapshot of, it fills in from previous snapshots. So if things change in areas that your brain wasn't looking, that your eye didn't register, you don't know it. And there's a lot of this on YouTube you can look up, you can research it yourself. Like I said, I may post some links to some interesting videos. But we see what we think is there. And there's a video I posted on my Facebook page, give or take a week ago, where they have a split screen and a person is speaking. And depending on which person you look at, you hear a different word, even though they're saying the same exact thing. And that's based on your hearing and what your brain presumes it hears. So again, perspective matters, perception matters. And we need to understand that just because we hear something or we see something doesn't mean it's really what it is. We hear what we think was said, and we see what we think is there. And that's pretty important. And you have to understand other people do the same thing. This isn't just one person, this is everybody. Which is another reason we need to be tolerant. Because just because two people hear the same thing in our understanding doesn't mean they perceive it the same way. And if you talk to cops, if you do the research, if you read up on eyewitness reports of accidents, you can have 5 witnesses to the same crime scene, to the same accident, and they can all tell you different stories that they all sincerely believe are true. The actual turn of events from their perception. 100% they believe it's true, and yet 5 people tell you different stories. It's all because we see and hear what we think was there, which is not always what is there. And that's something we really need to take into account. Perception matters, perspective matters. And over the course of these videos, I'm going to refer back quite a bit to the fact that I don't always know what I say, which I talked about last video. And I'm going to refer back to the fact that perception and perspective matter. And I'm going to refer back always to how we need to be more tolerant. Now, we still need to accept responsibility. And if somebody does something wrong or bad, they do need to be responsible for that. So I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that if somebody does something wrong, we just say, oh, that's okay, don't worry about it. Of course not. But it is important to me, it's very important to me, to make the point that perspective matters. And everybody's perspective can be different, even if they are presented with the same exact information. And that matters. I'm going to try to keep this video under 10 minutes. No promises. I don't really know for sure what I want to say from here on in, but my next video is going to be the suggestion I was given. It's going to be about America being free, or the illusion that it is free. We'll get to that next video. But again, that falls clearly under perspective and perception. What is free? Are we free? We'll talk about it next video. I want to refer a lot in these videos to movies, not because movies are actual things that happened in real life, other than being a movie, but because a lot of times things that happen in movies are as pertinent or as moving or as valuable as things that happen in real life. And one of the things that I'm thinking of right now is the movie The American President. And in that movie, near the end, the president gives what's called his final speech. And I've posted this video multiple times on my Facebook page, and I'll try to make sure I post it below in the comments as well. But again, no promises. And in that, the president, who's called Andrew Shepard, that's his name in the movie, he talks about freedom and America and character, and he talks about how if you want to call America the land of the free, if you want to talk about freedom of speech, it's hard. It's hard. It's going to fight. You've got to work for it. Because, and I'm not going to get this quote right, but he says you have to be willing to listen to a man who is willing to shout at the top of his lungs that which you would fight against for your entire life, because he has the right to say it. You have to be willing, and this is important, you have to be willing, if you want to call this the land of the free, to not only have the symbol of your country be a flag, but also the symbol of your country is someone burning that flag in protest. Or, as happens sometimes, People standing on the flag. People say that's disrespectful. Is it? It's your perception, it's your perspective. People say that's wrong. People say you shouldn't do it. But those same people also say that the country is based on its ability to revolt against tyranny. It's based on its ability for people to have the freedom to go against unjust laws and unjust rules and unjust actions of its government. And yet when people step on the flag as a way of revolting against what they perceive as something that is unjust by the country they live in, I see a lot of people get angry. And their perspective is, it's horrible, and if you don't like the country, just move. And yet, in the same breath, they spout about having the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms so that they can protect themselves and they can fight against an unjust government. And the irony of the things that they say, sometimes it makes me laugh. But I'm over my 10-minute mark, so I'm going to leave this here. And hopefully something I've said resonates with somebody, and they'll make some comments. If you agree with what I've said, if you like what I said, you want to click like, you want to make a comment and tell me I'm right, that's all fine, and I would appreciate it. But more than anything, if you disagree with something I've said, if you don't like something I've said, please, don't just tell me that. Tell me why. Let's have a little bit of discussion. Let's have a little bit of debate. Let's talk about it. Because I like to know what your perspective is. You're hearing mine, but I'm not hearing yours. Somebody needs to comment. I hope you all have a good night.